going on, party people? Ollie's in the house, ready to drop some more of that sweet bread for you. Today's loaf comes to us from the author Jon Kabat Zinn, and it goes like this. Most people don't realize that the mind constantly chatters, and yet that chatter winds up being the force that drives us much of the day in terms of what we do, what we react to, and how we feel. This could easily be the start of an infomercial promoting mindfulness. You know, like one of those late night infomercials where they're trying to sell you a cure for something you've never heard of. Only in this case, I think it would actually work because the chatter in the mind is real and it's true. It really does drive much of what we do, say, think, and feel unless we are aware of the chatter, unless we are mindful and present within ourselves, and we keep some degree of attention aimed at that internal chatter. Because the chatter goes on whether we are actively listening or not. But when we don't pay attention to it, when we don't get involved in the process, when we don't turn the monologue into a dialogue, then that chatter influences us in sub and unconscious ways, and we have no method of protecting ourselves against it because we're not even aware that it is happening. I think in some cases we may be aware, but we associate with the chatter. We think, well, it's my mind, it's my thoughts. In fact, we don't even think this. It's just an assumption. I am my mind. These are my thoughts. They came from me. But in reality, the mind is conditioned and it produces its own ideas and notions and thoughts. And so it's very important that we pay attention to that chatter. Because in a sense, it is us that's doing it. It's a part of us. So if you think back a few videos ago, I dropped a quote about the path of mindfulness and what it entails. And if you'll recall, it was very simple. Mindfulness means being aware of what you're doing as you're doing it. Right? Well, that chatter is something that you and I are doing in a way. It's something that your mind is being allowed to do because it's not being restricted or scolded or put on a leash, right? So it has to do with your interaction with the mind. It's something that we are doing or not doing in this case. And so you have to become aware of the chatter and you have to get involved. You can't just let it go on. And you can't just say, yeah, you're right, mind. That guy is an asshole. He shouldn't have cut me off. I'm going to honk the horn now. I'm going to get really mad. You don't have to go with that. You don't have to go with that chatter. For me, I kind of like the chatter because it allows me to engage with myself, as weird as that sounds. It allows me to practice the Socratic method on myself, because if I find myself engaged in a line of thinking, and I become aware that I'm engaged with that line of thinking, and I see that it's problematic, I will start to attack it. I will start to play devil's advocate with myself. I know, it's a tangled web that I weave. I understand that. And I'm not suggesting that you try to do this because, you know, on the surface it probably sounds like I have a split personality. But I engage with that voice. I engage with it and I ask it questions and I sort of pull its arguments apart and I basically just destroy them. Because most of the time what the mind tells you is utter bullshit. It's conditioned, it's superficial, it may be rational or reasonable, but it's not always accurate. And because reason by itself can be misused. And the mind is great at doing this. Especially if the mind has sort of become egoic in the sense that it's taken on a life of its own, which is how I lived the first 20 some odd years of my life, ruled by the ego. So if that's the case, then you've got more layers to scrape through. It's going to be an uphill battle. But it all begins with the chatter. Becoming aware that it's happening and dissociating from it because it's not you. It's something that your mind is doing and it's being allowed to do, but now you're here. It's time to take care of business. Let that fucking mind know who's boss. That scumbag brain of yours. That's it for me. Thank you for joining me and live well, my friends.